Hello, and welcome back to Sleeping Gift. Tonight, allow me to share a story to accompany you as you drift off to sleep. Before we go any further, take a slow and gentle breath. Let the calm air fill your chest, then slowly exhale. Release every burden you have been carrying. Let your imagination gently guide you into this story. Now, let's begin the story. Breathe in, breathe out, and let me take you away for a moment into a story. A calm night in a secondhand bookstore. Sleep story for insomnia and deep relaxation. Before we enter this story, take a deep breath in and exhale slowly. Now, it is time for us to step into this journey. The evening begins quietly in the small secondhand bookstore, the kind of quiet that settles into a room long before anyone notices it arriving. Outside the tall front window, the sky has already softened into a shade of deep blue that feels almost like velvet, and the street beyond moves slowly, as though the night itself is gently encouraging everything to slow its pace. Inside, the warm glow of a single lamp spreads across the wooden counter. The lamp is not very bright, yet it is enough. Its soft circle of light touches the grain of the wood, the smooth curve of a ceramic mug resting near the edge, and the faint outline of a notebook whose pages have been turned so many times that they now lie slightly curved, like leaves that remember the wind. All around the room stand shelves, tall shelves, short shelves that lean very slightly to one side because the floor beneath them has settled over the years in the patient way that old buildings do. And on every shelf rest books with faded covers, books wrapped in cloth that feels soft as worn fabric, books whose pages have grown the color of warm honey after many quiet years of waiting. If you breathe in slowly, the scent of them gathers in the air. Old paper has a gentle fragrance. It is not sharp. It is not heavy. It is something warm, something dry and comforting, like the quiet smell of a wooden attic warmed by the afternoon sun, or the inside of a well-loved journal that has followed someone through many seasons. That scent moves through the bookstore now, drifting softly between the rows of shelves, warming the room in a way that feels almost invisible, almost like a memory that cannot quite be named. Behind the counter sits a chair. It is a simple chair, its wooden arms smooth from years of quiet use. And in that chair, someone sits calmly, watching over the bookstore for the evening. There is no rush here, no hurry. The hands resting on the counter move only occasionally, perhaps to turn a page, perhaps to trace the edge of a book that has been placed nearby. A small clock hangs on the wall above the shelves. Its ticking is slow. Tick, a quiet pause. Tick. Each sound floats gently into the room and settles there without disturbing the stillness, like a small pebble dropped into a calm pond that chooses not to ripple very far. Outside the window, a faint wind moves along the street. It brushes softly against the glass, not with insistence, but with the quiet patience of night air drifting wherever it wishes to go. Sometimes the wind carries with it the faint rustle of distant leaves. Sometimes it carries nothing at all. Inside, the warmth of the bookstore remains steady. The lamp glows, the books rest. The air holds the calm scent of paper that has waited through many evenings just like this one. And the person watching over the room breathes slowly, in and out. The breath rises gently, like the slow lifting of a curtain stirred by a quiet breeze. Then it settles again, in and out. The chair creaks very softly once, the way old wood sometimes remembers movement even after it has stopped. But soon, even that sound fades. Nothing here asks for attention. Nothing here needs to change. The rows of books remain patient, their pages closed, their stories resting peacefully in the dim light. The lamp continues to glow. The clock continues its steady rhythm, and the evening in the small secondhand bookstore begins to stretch outward, slow and calm, like a long, gentle breath that has only just begun. The evening continues in the same quiet way, as though the bookstore itself understands that there is no reason to hurry toward anything at all. The lamp still glows on the counter, its light warm and steady, touching the edges of nearby books and softly fading before it can reach the farther shelves. The room seems content with this gentle balance of light and shadow. The clock on the wall keeps its patient rhythm. Tick, a pause that feels almost like breathing. Tick, nothing rushes between those small sounds. The moments simply settle where they are, resting lightly in the room. Behind the counter, the chair shifts slightly as the person watching over the bookstore leans forward just a little. Not quickly, not with any urgency, only enough to reach for a book that has been resting near the notebook. The cover of the book is soft with age. When it is opened, the pages move with a delicate whisper, a quiet brushing sound that blends easily with the slow ticking of the clock and the distant hush of the night outside the window. One page turns, then another. The motion is small and unhurried, like the slow drifting of leaves across still water. The scent of old paper rises a little more strongly when the pages move, warming the air again in that gentle way the bookstore knows so well. It is a comforting scent, dry, familiar, a scent that belongs to evenings like this one, when the world outside gradually grows quieter and the inside of the bookstore becomes its own calm little world. For a while, the book remains open. The eyes resting on the page move slowly from line to line, though sometimes they pause in the middle of a sentence, not because the words are difficult, but simply because the quiet of the room feels worth noticing. Sometimes the gaze drifts toward the shelves. There are so many books here. Some stand neatly in rows. Others lean slightly against their neighbors, as though resting their weight in a friendly way. One shelf near the window holds a few very old volumes whose covers have faded into gentle shades of brown and gray. Another shelf farther back holds paperbacks with soft, flexible spines that curve comfortably when touched. Each book seems settled, patient in its place. Every now and then, a small routine continues. The ceramic mug is lifted slowly from the counter. The warmth inside it has softened over time, but a gentle sip still carries a quiet comfort. The mug is placed back in its spot, always in the same place near the lamp, where the light touches the rim. Later, the notebook is opened. A page is turned. A single line is written with a pen that glides easily across the paper, leaving behind a few quiet words before the pen is set down again. Nothing complicated, just a small note, perhaps about a book that was moved earlier in the day, or a reminder that tomorrow another stack of old novels might find their way onto the front table. The notebook closes softly. The hands return to rest on the counter. Outside the window, the faint wind continues its gentle wandering along the street. It brushes past the glass again, carrying with it a soft rustle that might be leaves, or perhaps simply the quiet sound of air moving between buildings. Inside, the scent of old paper lingers warmly. The shelves remain still. The book lies open once more, and the person in the chair breathes slowly again. In and out, the room breathes with them. Tick, a pause, tick, and the evening in the secondhand bookstore continues, steady and calm, like a familiar rhythm that has repeated itself many times before and will repeat itself again, gently, patiently, as the night deepens, little by little. The evening moves forward in the bookstore the way a quiet river moves through a wide valley slowly, without effort, without needing to be noticed. The lamp on the counter still glows with the same gentle warmth. Its light has not changed, yet it seems softer now, as though the room has gradually settled deeper into its calm, allowing the glow to spread a little more comfortably across the wooden surface of the desk. The book remains open. Its pages rest in a small curve beneath the lamplight, and the paper holds that familiar tone of soft gold that only comes after many years of quiet waiting on shelves. Every now and then a page is turned, not quickly, not even with purpose that needs to hurry, just a slow movement of fingers along the edge of the paper, lifting it slightly, letting it float over, until the next page settles into place with a faint and delicate whisper. The sound is barely there, yet in the stillness of the bookstore, it becomes part of the rhythm of the evening. Page, tick, a quiet breath. Page, tick. Outside the window, the street has grown even calmer than before. Fewer distant sounds drift through the glass now. The wind still moves along the buildings, but more softly, as though the night air itself has grown comfortable and no longer feels the need to wander too far. Sometimes the wind carries the faintest rustle of leaves brushing against one another somewhere down the street. Sometimes it carries only silence. Inside, the shelves of books continue to rest in their patient rows. Some of the older volumes seem to lean together slightly, as though they have grown accustomed to each other's quiet company through many evenings like this one. One shelf near the back holds a small collection of books whose cloth covers have softened into smooth textures, worn gently by many hands over many years. When the lamplight reaches them just right, the fabric seems to glow faintly, almost like old velvet catching the edge of a candle's light. The air in the room remains warm with the scent of paper. Old paper has a way of holding the memory of time. It carries the faint trace of wood, pulp, and dust, and the quiet warmth of rooms where it has rested before. When the pages of a book are turned slowly, that scent drifts outward again, as though the book is breathing very softly. Behind the counter, the chair shifts just a little. Not much, just the quiet adjustment of someone settling more comfortably into the slow passage of the evening. A hand reaches toward the ceramic mug. The warmth inside it has faded further now, but the motion of lifting it still feels natural, like a small part of a familiar routine. The mug returns to the counter. The hand rests again, and for a while, nothing else moves. The eyes lift from the open book and wander slowly across the room, across the shelves, across the quiet aisles between them, across the tall window where the deep blue of the night has darkened even further. For a brief moment, a soft reflection appears in the glass, the faint shape of the lamp behind the counter, glowing like a small golden star inside the room. Then the reflection fades as the gaze moves away. The book remains open. The clock continues its patient rhythm. Tick, a pause long enough for a breath. Tick, in and out. The air moves gently through the chest, rising and falling in the same calm way it has all evening. The bookstore seems to follow that rhythm now. Nothing asks to be done. Nothing waits with urgency. The shelves remain still. The pages rest, and the quiet scent of old paper continues to warm the room, drifting softly through the lamplight as the night deepens just a little more. The evening deepens in such a gentle way that it is difficult to notice exactly when the change happens. The lamp still glows on the counter, its warm circle of light steady and calm, resting across the smooth wood and the open book whose pages now lie quietly, as though they too have grown comfortable in the slow passage of the night. Nothing in the room feels hurried. The shelves remain full and patient, their long rows stretching softly into the dimmer corners of the bookstore, where the lamplight fades into shadow. Somewhere in the quiet, the clock continues its rhythm. Tick, a long, untroubled pause. Tick, the sound is so familiar now that it feels less like a noise and more like a gentle companion to the breath moving in and out of the room. Behind the counter, the chair holds its quiet shape. The person sitting there has not moved for a while, and the stillness has begun to settle around them like a soft blanket made of warm air and old paper. The book remains open, though the eyes resting above it are no longer reading every line. Sometimes the gaze rests on a page. Sometimes it drifts slowly across the room touching the shelves one by one. There are so many books here that each shelf seems to carry its own quiet presence. A tall shelf near the back holds volumes that look as though they have been waiting for many years, their spines softened into gentle curves. A smaller shelf near the window holds thin paperbacks whose pages have grown delicate and slightly wavy, like leaves that have spent long seasons in the sun. Looking at them brings a faint and peaceful memory, not a memory with sharp edges, not something that asks to be held tightly, just the soft suggestion of earlier evenings, perhaps long ago, when other small bookstores rested under other warm lamps, places where someone might have stood quietly between the shelves, brushing their fingers along the spines of books, breathing in the same calm scent of paper and dust. The memory does not stay long. It drifts through the mind the way a cloud drifts across a quiet sky. For a moment it is there. Then, slowly, gently, it fades. The present evening returns again, steady and soft. The lamp glows. The shelves rest. The book waits open on the counter. Outside the window, the street has grown very quiet now. The wind still moves sometimes, brushing faintly against the glass, though even that movement seems slower than before. It is the kind of wind that wanders without destination, simply passing through the spaces between buildings, carrying the cool breath of night. Inside, the warmth of the bookstore remains unchanged. The scent of old paper still floats through the air. It rises softly whenever a page shifts even slightly, or when the air moves just enough to stir the edges of a book that has not been opened in many days. A hand reaches out once more and lightly smooths the open page, not to turn it, just to rest there for a moment. The paper feels smooth and faintly dry beneath the fingertips, holding the quiet texture of many years. Then the hand withdraws again. The chair remains still. The breath continues, in and out. The bookstore listens quietly to that rhythm. Tick, pause, tick. And somewhere between those small sounds, the evening settles even deeper into its calm, carrying with it the gentle feeling that nothing more is needed tonight than the quiet presence of the room, the warm glow of the lamp, and the peaceful patience of books that have all the time in the world to rest where they are. The night has now settled fully around the bookstore, the way a soft blanket settles across a quiet room, covering everything in a calm and gentle stillness. The lamp on the counter continues to glow with its familiar warmth. Its light has not dimmed, yet the room feels softer beneath it, as though the quiet hours have slowly smoothed. The open book rests exactly where it has been. Its pages no longer move for a while. They lie calmly beneath the light, holding their faint golden color, their edges slightly uneven from years of turning. The scent of old paper continues to warm the room. It is a steady scent, a patient scent. It does not rush forward. It simply exists in the air, drifting slowly between the shelves and the counter, as though it is nowhere else it needs to be tonight. Behind the counter, the chair remains still. The person watching over the bookstore sits quietly, breathing in the same slow rhythm that has gradually become the quiet heartbeat of the room. In the chest rises gently. Out, the breath settles again. There is no need to think about it. The breath simply happens, just as the clock continues its patient ticking on the wall. Tick, a pause wide enough for the whole room to rest inside it. Tick. The sound is small and calm, blending easily with the quiet air. Outside the window, the street has grown so peaceful that even the wind seems to pass by more slowly now. Sometimes it brushes against the glass with the lightest whisper. Sometimes it moves along without leaving any sound at all. Inside the bookstore, it is not an empty silence. It is a full silence. A silence made of warm lamplight, resting books, and the gentle breathing of someone who has spent many evenings in the same calm place. The gaze behind the counter no longer moves across the shelves as often. Instead, it rests softly near the edge of the lamp's glow, where the light fades into shadow. The shapes of the books there are softer. Their outlines blend together gently, as though the shelves themselves are slowly drifting deeper into the quiet of the night. A hand rests on the counter, still, relaxed. The smooth wood beneath the fingertips holds the faint warmth of the lamp above it. For a moment, the hand lifts slightly and closes the open book. The movement is slow and careful. The cover folds over the pages with a soft sound, like the closing of a calm thought. The book now rests quietly beside the notebook. Nothing more needs to be read tonight. The hands return to their resting place. The breath continues, in and out. The room seems to breathe with it. Somewhere along the shelves, a very old book settles almost imperceptibly against its neighbor. The faint shift of paper against paper so soft that it might not even be a sound at all. Perhaps it is simply the way old pages relax when the air grows cooler. Perhaps it is nothing. The quiet remains. The lamp glows. The clock continues. Tick, pause, tick, and the scent of old paper continues to drift gently through the room, warming the air in the same patient way it always has. As the night inside the secondhand bookstore grows deeper and softer with every slow and steady breath, the bookstore remains wrapped in the quiet of the night, the kind of quiet that feels deep and settled, as though it has gently filled every corner of the room and chosen to rest there for a while. The lamp on the counter still glows with its soft, patient light. It touches the surface of the desk, the closed book resting beside the notebook, and the rim of the ceramic mug that now holds only a small trace of warmth. Beyond the reach of the lamp, the shelves grow dimmer, not dark, but softened. The outlines of the books blur gently together, forming long rows of quiet shapes that seem content simply to be where they are. The scent of old paper lingers in the air, steady and calm. It drifts slowly between the shelves, touching the wooden floor, rising again in the faint warmth of the lamplight. Every now and then, the pages of a nearby book shift almost imperceptibly, as though the paper itself is stretching after many hours of stillness. The sound is so soft, it might easily be mistaken for the movement of air. A whisper, then stillness again. Behind the counter, the chair remains nearly motionless. The person sitting there breathes slowly, the rhythm steady and familiar now. In, a quiet rise. Out, a gentle settling. The room seems to follow that rhythm without effort. The clock continues its patient ticking on the wall. Tick, a long pause that stretches softly through the air. Tick. There are moments now when the ticking feels less like a sound and more like a distant marker of time, quietly reminding the room that the night continues its calm journey forward. The gaze behind the counter rests peacefully on the shelves nearest the lamp. Those books are easy to see. Their spines carry faded colors, muted reds, worn greens, soft browns that have deepened with age. Some titles can still be read clearly. Others have faded into quiet suggestion, their letters softened by years of gentle handling. One book leans slightly to the side. It has likely leaned that way for many evenings, perhaps many months. No one rushes to straighten it. It seems comfortable where it is. A hand lifts slowly from the counter, not with purpose that needs completing, just a small movement, a slow brushing of fingers along the edge of the closed book. The cover feels smooth and cool now that the room has grown quieter and the night air outside has settled into its calm. The hand rests there for a moment, then returns to the stillness of the desk. Outside the window, the night continues. The street beyond the glass is quiet enough that the faintest movements of air can be noticed when they arrive. Sometimes the wind glides softly along the building. Sometimes it pauses entirely, leaving the glass perfectly still. Inside, the bookstore listens. The shelves rest. The books remain patient. And in the quiet space between the ticking of the clock and the gentle breathing behind the counter, the room seems to repeat its calm details again and again. The lamp glows. The books wait. The scent of old paper drifts slowly through the warm air. The lamp glows. The books wait. The scent of old paper drifts slowly through the warm air. Each small detail returns like the steady rhythm of a calm breath, familiar and comforting, repeating softly as the night inside the bookstore grows even deeper and more peaceful. The quiet of the bookstore has grown so gentle now that even the smallest movements seem to take their time before happening. The lamp on the counter continues to glow, its warm light resting softly across the wood, across the closed book, across the notebook, whose pages remain still and patient. The air holds the sound calm scent of old paper. It is a scent that no longer arrives or fades. It simply lives in the room now, warm and steady, drifting slowly between the shelves, the way soft evening light once drifted through the window earlier in the day. The clock on the wall continues its rhythm. Tick. A pause long enough for another breath. Tick. Behind the counter, the chair gives the faintest quiet creak as the person sitting there shifts ever so slightly, settling deeper into the comfortable stillness that has gathered throughout the evening. There is no rush in the movement, just a slow adjustment, a gentle leaning back. The hands rest easily now on the surface of the desk, palms relaxed, fingers loosely curved as though they have finished all the small tasks the evening required. The book has already been closed. The notebook has already been set aside. Nothing more waits to be done tonight. The eyes lift once more, drifting slowly across the room, across the shelves, across the narrow aisles where rows of books stand quietly in the soft dimness beyond the lamp's reach. The bookstore feels larger in this quiet, not because the room has changed, but because the stillness stretches gently between the shelves, filling the small spaces with calm. Somewhere near the back of the room, A book settles slightly against another. It is the kind of movement old books sometimes make when the air grows cooler and the bindings relax. A soft, nearly invisible shift. Then the shelves grow still again. Outside the window, the night has grown deep and calm. The faint wind that wandered earlier has softened even more, now moving only occasionally along the street. When it does pass by, it brushes lightly against the glass, like a quiet breath against a warm surface. Inside, the bookstore remains steady. The lamp glows, the shelves rest, the scent of paper lingers. Behind the counter, the breathing continues slowly. In, a quiet rise of the chest. Out, a gentle release into the chair. The rhythm is so calm now that it seems to spread into the room itself. The shelves seem to breathe with it. The air seems to settle with it. Even the ticking of the clock feels softer, as though it too has chosen to slow its presence within the quiet. Tick, pause, tick. The gaze behind the counter drifts once more to the lamp. The warm circle of light is smaller now, or perhaps it only feels that way as the surrounding darkness grows softer and deeper. The glass shade of the lamp glows like a small moon resting above the desk. Its warmth touches the nearby books gently, leaving the farther shelves to rest peacefully in shadow. For a moment, a hand lifts and adjusts the position of the ceramic mug slightly, sliding it a few inches across the wood. The motion is slow and smooth. When the mug settles again, it makes the faintest sound against the desk. Then the hand returns to rest, and once more, the room becomes still. Nothing more moves. Nothing more asks to be done. The lamp glows quietly. The books wait in their patient rows. The scent of old paper continues its gentle warmth, and the calm breath behind the counter rises and falls, slow and steady, as the night inside the secondhand bookstore drifts peacefully toward even deeper quiet. The night inside the bookstore grows softer still, as though the quiet that has slowly gathered through the evening has now settled fully into every corner of the room. The lamp on the counter continues to glow, though its warmth now feels gentler, like the last steady light before the deeper hours of night. The glass shade holds the glow carefully, letting it spread across the wood in a calm and patient circle. Beyond that circle of light, the shelves rest in peaceful dimness. Their shapes remain clear, yet softened. Rows of books stand quietly together, their spines blending into calm lines of faded color: brown, red, green, and soft gray, each one holding its own quiet story behind closed pages. The scent of old paper still warms the room. It drifts slowly through the air, not rising or falling, simply remaining present, like a quiet companion that has stayed long enough to feel part of the room itself. Behind the counter, the chair holds its gentle stillness. The person sitting there has grown very calm now, their breathing slow and even, rising and falling with a rhythm that feels almost like the slow tide of a quiet sea. In, the breath lifts softly. Out, the breath settles again. For a while, nothing changes. The clock on the wall continues its quiet work. Tick, a long and peaceful pause. Tick. Each sound feels farther apart now, though the rhythm remains the same. It is simply that the quiet around it has grown deeper, allowing the space between each tick to stretch comfortably through the room. The hands resting on the counter shift slightly, not with purpose, only with the natural softness of someone relaxing further into the evening. One hand moves slowly toward the lamp. The fingers touch the small switch near its base. For a moment, the light remains as it is, glowing steadily across the desk. Then the switch turns gently. The lamp that does not turn off. It simply dims. The warm circle of light becomes smaller, softer, like a candle that has decided to glow more quietly. The change is gentle enough that the room accepts it without surprise. The shelves grow a little darker. The counter rests in softer shadow. The notebook and the closed book remain beside one another, their edges still visible in the fading glow. Outside the window, the night continues to rest over the street. The wind has nearly disappeared now, leaving the glass perfectly still. The darkness beyond the window feels calm and deep, like a quiet lake reflecting a sky full of unseen stars. Inside, the bookstore seems to listen to its own silence. The faint creak of the wooden floor settles. The pages of the books remain perfectly still. The scent of paper continues to drift gently through the air. The breathing behind the counter remains slow. In, out. The room feels warmer with each quiet breath. Warmer with the soft presence of book that have waited through many nights like this one. The lamp continues its dim glow. The clock continues its quiet rhythm, and the bookstore rests peacefully in the deepening night, wrapped in calm light and soft shadow, as though the entire room is slowly preparing itself for sleep. The bookstore now rests in a deeper quiet than before, the kind of quiet that feels wide and gentle, like a calm sky stretching endlessly above a sleeping town. The lamp on the counter continues to glow faintly. Its light is soft now, almost like a memory of brightness rather than brightness itself. It touches the desk only lightly, leaving much of the room in a calm and comfortable shadow. The shelves remain where they have always been, tall lines of books standing patiently beside one another. Their spines no longer show their colors clearly in the dim light, yet their shapes remain familiar, like silhouettes of old friends who have settled quietly into the night. The scent of old paper still fills the air. It moves so slowly now that it is almost impossible to notice its movement at all. It simply rests in the room, warm and steady, blending with the quiet wood of the shelves and the calm air of the evening. Behind the counter, the chair remains still. The person sitting there has grown very quiet, their body resting comfortably against the back of the chair as the slow rhythm of breathing continues. In, the chest rises gently. Out, the breath fades softly into the stillness. There are long moments now where nothing moves at all. The clock continues its patient work on the wall. Tick. A pause so long it feels like the room itself is listening. Tick. Each sound arrives quietly and then disappears again into the soft calm that surrounds it. The hands resting on the counter no longer shift. They lie relaxed on the smooth wood, warmed faintly by the dim glow of the lamp. The closed book beside them has not moved since earlier. Its cover rests peacefully against the notebook, both objects sharing the quiet patience of things that no longer expect anything more from the night. Outside the window, the street has grown completely still. No wind brushes against the glass now. No distant rustle drifts through the darkness. The world beyond the bookstore feels far away, wrapped in the same deep calm that now fills the room. Inside, the shelves seem almost to breathe with the slow rhythm of the quiet. Not truly moving, of course, but resting in such a peaceful way that they appear part of the same gentle stillness that surrounds everything. Somewhere among the books, a page settles deeper within its binding. The sound is so faint that it might simply be imagined, a soft suggestion of paper adjusting to the coolness of night. Then nothing again. The lamp glows softly. The clock ticks patiently. The scent of old paper continues its warm, quiet presence, and the breath behind the counter moves slowly, steadily, like a tide that has almost come to rest. In, out. The bookstore listens to that quiet rhythm. The shelves remain patient. The books remain still, and the night deepens gently around them, holding the room in a calm that feels almost endless, as though time itself has decided to slow its steps while passing through this small and peaceful place. The bookstore rests in its quiet now, fully and gently, as though the entire room has slowly drifted into a peaceful dream. The lamp on the counter still glows, though its light is now very soft, almost like a small ember resting at the heart of the room. It touches the wood of the desk faintly, tracing the smooth surface in a warm and gentle glow before fading into the calm shadows that surround the shelves. The shelves stand quietly in the dimness. Rows of books remain exactly where they have always been, leaning softly against one another, resting in their patient lines. Even without bright light, their presence fills the room. Books have a quiet way of doing that. They hold their stories silently. They wait without hurry. They simply remain. The scent of old paper continues to warm the air, gentle and steady, as though it has become part of the breath of the bookstore itself. It drifts slowly through the room, settling among the shelves, brushing lightly against the counter, lingering in the quiet corners where the lamp's glow barely reaches. Behind the counter, the chair holds its calm shape. The person sitting there rests easily now, their bodies settled into the stillness that has grown deeper with every passing hour. The breathing remains slow. In. The chest rises softly. Out. The breath fades into the quiet. The clock continues its quiet rhythm somewhere on the wall. Tick. A pause. Tick. The sound no longer feels like the marking of time. It feels more like a distant echo, something soft and patient that simply exists alongside the silence. Outside the window, the night has become completely still. The street beyond the glass rests under the dark sky, quiet and undisturbed. Inside, the bookstore feels warm and safe, like a small island of calm floating gently in the middle of the sleeping world. The hands resting on the counter remain relaxed. The closed book and the notebook beside it have not moved. They sit together quietly beneath the fading glow of the lamp, their pages resting after the slow unfolding of the evening. Nothing more is needed. Nothing more asks to happen. The shelves remain patient. The books remain still. The scent of paper continues its soft warmth, and the breath behind the counter moves slowly again. In, out. For a while, the room simply listens, and the quiet deepens. The lamp glows faintly. The clock ticks gently in the distance, and the bookstore, filled with its calm rows of waiting books and its warm scent of old paper, settles peacefully into the night. The breath rises once more, soft, slow, and as it falls again into the stillness, the quiet of the bookstore remains, steady, gentle, and endless, like the final comfortable thought that drifts softly away as sleep arrives. Where are you drifting over tonight? Let the weightlessness take over your body. If this story helped you find peace, please consider subscribing for more nightly journeys. Sleep well, traveler.